I'm speaking to Sayalay Chandadhika. She is a Burmese Buddhist nun that's currently in Mainz, Germany. And I'm really grateful to have her on here joining us to talk about the current situation and the perspective from a practicing and teaching Buddhist nun, and to hear the perspective of how her practice has come in to help her and so many others at this time. So, Sayalay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on your program.
So, first, I just want to ask about you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, doing pretty okay, even though I'm not a exception from collective emotion of the people of Myanmar. Yeah, my homeland. Yeah, except from this, I'm pretty okay.
Right. How has your practice been going?
I would say it's good. It's good.
So, to learn a little bit about you, can you tell us a bit about where you're from, what part of the country, and a little bit about your life in robes, how you came to become a nun, and what tradition you're in?
This is a long story, but, but to make it short,
To make it short.
yeah. After my high school, I have we have like gap year, yeah, in Myanmar before you go to university. So I am originally from Shan State, which is a little bit east north of Myanmar. And then from my hometown, I traveled to Mandalay, where I have a chance to meet Mandalay Power Branch, which is pretty newly established. And then, yeah, this from that time I have a chance to meditate, learn a little bit more about it. Even though previously I already have started with Sayara Ujotika, but mainly from reading his book and trying it out alone by myself. And but now here in Mandalay, I have more time to be in a retreat, and this is where I happen to end up being a nun. It was in 2000 and in 2008 I became a nun. Yeah, I decided to be a nun. Mhm.
So your influence was initially Sayadaw Ujotika. He's the Snow and Summer and Map of the Journey author, disciple of Taungpulu Sayadaw. And then from that influence, you became attracted to the Pauk method in Mandalay. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. And what was interesting to you about Ujotika and Pauk as you started to practice more?
Yeah, honestly, I was at the time age about 16, 17, and I have a lot of, I mean, it is normal, yeah, to have some problem in these teenage years, a little bit, even though not so teenage anymore. Many problem with my mother, how to, these these things, and my father used to give me a gift as a gift. Usually, is the book from Sayadaw Ujjodika. He is at the time publishing quite frequently, almost every month. So monthly publication that my father usually sent me and bought me to read and to try it out, and I find it so relieving, even just by reading it, and I find a lot of how to say, I find so relieving, freeing in the mind,
Mm.
and I find my relationship with my mother improve, and so later just by reading. But later I try out, okay, why not I just do it sitting in front of the altar or in front of the Buddha, and I do according to the instruction I find in the book, just like 5 minutes meditation. And then I find it helps me a lot.
Right. So that was Ujotika, and then that propelled you to go and take intensive training at Pauk Center.
yeah, after that I start reading, and I find Dr. Mintimon. He wrote about the Abhidhamma and something like that. He was also one of the speaker, the motivation speaker in my high school. So I have great admiration to him. And now I find another book written by him on Abhidhamma, and which also uh, yeah, have a huge influence in my decision to search for more, to go for more, and to learn a little bit deeper what it is. And then also Dr. Mintimon wrote another book which called Introduction to Power. And then when I was in Mandalay, I met Power. Okay, this is exactly is a chance. Why not? And I just go into the meditation center. But it is really a long story, a long process.
I'm sure.
Who actually take me into this time, and how I was so entangled with at the time with my I was normally home guide. Yeah, I when I finish high school, I teach who is 1 year junior to me in the school, like a home guide. I teach them in yeah, school subject. So one of my students, let's say, and she also wanted to make 10 days retreat, and she was searching for a friend to go together. And finally, yeah, it's a long story we did together, and then this is actually where I have a chance to be actually into the park. It's a slow process.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And, usually on these interviews, we often take a couple hours to really explore someone's spiritual story. And obviously, at this moment, we don't really have the time for it, and the focus is elsewhere. But just wanted to have some sense of where you came from and what your background
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And I guess just one more follow up question. I know this is a very deep question that can have a long answer attached to it, and I'm asking you to condense it just to give us the short version. But what was it that ultimately led you to not just want to be a lay meditator in the PAOK tradition, but to renounce society and your profession and actually become a nun?
Yeah, I will see one word or one energy I find is the influence of the teacher. The teacher is so important at the at that point, yeah. Because I was at the time a really difficult time to decide what to do. Yeah, two different at the age about 26 is it's difficult to decide which way I to go. Yeah, so it's like two different energies pulling me to stay in the watery light and to go to the monastic. And then what I find is the importance of having a good teacher. Yes, and I'm grateful. And now I look back and I could see this energy and how important it is.
Right. So now you're in Germany, and what is it that brought you to Germany? What are you doing there?
Oh well, another another long story.
Oh,
Okay, let's say in 2010, I have a chance to do meditation retreat with Venerable Paul Theology in Molyneux. And then there I met German nuns who has been practicing there. And then in 2017, I was in Rome, coming as a pontifical scholar for interreligious dialogue. And then one day, I received an email from her saying that, okay, I hear that you are now in Europe. Why not come and visit my monastery in Germany? And I reply, okay, why not? And then finally, I end up here in Germany. But this also is a long story, yeah, to make it short.
mm, right. And what are you doing now in Germany? I mean, I think the last week you've maybe been doing something else, but um, for how long have you been in Germany, and what is your role there?
Yeah, I have been here in Germany already 2 years and a half, and I work in the Buddhist center as a Theravada Buddhist teacher. The center is called Buddha's Week. And after that, since last year, I have been doing on my own a small little nunnery. Of course, it's a small little one-person house here in Germany. I'm a nun, so I call it as a nunnery, and I make one small room for public gathering, like we can sit together about 8 people. But now in Corona time, I'm not doing it. So mainly I'm doing here in Zoom teaching meditation, doing guided meditation, mainly some group, one from Singapore, a group of my old friends in Burmese language, and another group from Amsterdam in English, and yeah, another group is coming soon from Munich. And at the same time, I'm also studying German language, so it's pretty, yeah.
Right, and you're teaching the PAOK method?
I wouldn't say teaching part of method, but I do together a little bit Mahasi and PAOK, and mainly Lady Seattle's teaching. And whatever is suitable for the situation, I give accordingly the guided meditation. So I cannot say which lineage I'm doing,
Mm, mm.
but mainly it's Mahasatipatthana Sutta.
Right. So being from Myanmar, you have this depth of different traditions you can draw on for different students and situations. And having knowledge and
Yeah,
familiarity with those
yeah,
great teachers, you have the advantage of being able to use what's appropriate at different times, whether it's Mahasi or Lady or
yeah,
PAOK,
yeah,
as you mentioned. Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. Yeah, and who are you teaching usually there? Who is coming to your center? Are they Germans? Are they Burmese expats that are living there? Who is mainly your students that show up at your center?
In my first half, 1.5 year, the beginning year in Germany is most of the people coming to my talk, public talk, or whatever we can teach them. They are mainly German. But now I'm doing by myself alone, and it is happened to be in the beginning of Corona time, so we cannot gather. And at that time, I'm doing in Zoom. It's one group from Singapore. They are mostly my Burmese friends. And then Amsterdam group is a mixed Dutch, Slovenian, Burmese, or also European Burmese. And then Munich mainly German. Yeah. But for me, it's okay. I have I have to find any way to. I also love to do it to make the Dhamma into what is suitable for which age group and which people. It
Hmm.
is okay. I like to adapt this.
Right. Right. So you're a Burmese nun living outside of your country, and this last week has probably been kind of a challenging time to be away from so much that's been going on. So, what has it felt like being out of your native country when so many profound and unsettling things are taking place?
Yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult actually in the first day to wake up with such a news. And I would say I could also see it is quite even traumatizing to all the people of Myanmar. I'm not exception, of course. And yeah, this collective suffering, collective emotion. But I could pretty see it, and anyway, it is even though the Buddha put it in the first basket of the first noble truth, there is suffering in the world. But now it's like the suffering is coming directly to your door. and it is a huge challenge. And also to test, it is a huge, true test about your Dharma practice, or whatever you call it. How strong you are, or how is, what do you really have inside is this time to come out. I mean, it's for everybody, yeah, not only for the men.
Right. Right. And what have you learned about yourself in having this test in front of you?
In the beginning, the first the first 2 days, around these 2 days, I suddenly realized how much suffering is there. And I also see a group of people. I say, okay, this is definitely a time for Metta, collective Metta, not for individual like meditation alone, but this we have to do all together in speech, in action, and to do it more with force, with really powerful. And this is the time is calling for this sort of energy. We have to be together.
Yeah, I think for meditators listening to this, the idea of sending metta even to people that are causing such suffering to a country and a people that we care about so much and that are causing suffering to us as well. This is hard. I know that you listened to my interview with Daviranani, and I had referenced being Jewish and going to Auschwitz and being confronted with um, the hatred and the evil that was there. We talked about sending metta to Nazis who were perpetuating it, to Donald Trump, who has caused a lot of harm in my country. And we're talking about sending metta to the people who have instigated this coup that now so many millions are suffering from. So, as a practitioner, as a teacher, as someone skilled in metta, for those people listening right now that are still struggling with drowning in sorrow or drowning in anger, drowning just in anger and rage about what's happening, and the idea of wishing well to people that are causing such harm and causing such harm to oneself is really hard. So, what do you say to that?
It is really hard. It is really hard, even for the practitioner. Even for myself. That's why I say in the first few days, about 2 days especially, and it was so hard. And I think it's also important to express the feeling genuinely, yeah, because it has been so. The ignorance is so huge, and how to say, the darkness, yeah, is so big. So it's so difficult. It's impossible to practice metta right away, even for the practitioner, even for myself. In the beginning, and I find it's okay to get upset, and even I was so disappointed with this main online or whatever what they are doing. But it is also okay to let this energy out, or to give yourself time and to be patient with yourself. And then after that, let it let it go, let it dissolve slowly. Also not hanging and clinging to this feeling of this hardship. Also not forcing it to go away, but give yourself enough time. I have to give myself enough time like this. And then after 2 days is suddenly slowly things are okay, come back to balanced state. And it's much easier to breathe, more room for compassion, metta, understanding to come in, slowly come in. It's already there anyway. at some point, but now is being disturbed by such a huge traumatizing news, and then now it's slowly coming back, and then also let it be, let it come back, and it's a huge process. Yeah, not easy.
Yeah, I know that you're connecting with a number of Burmese students online on Zoom and helping them work through their own trauma of of what's happening, what's continuing to happen, and how, and you're helping them in a Dhammic way. You're helping them to work internally with the pain they're going through practice. And you've described a little bit just now about your own process, your own emotions, your own efforts. I'm wondering what you would have to say about the students you're working with, about the Burmese students you're connecting with. What are what are their experiences? What are these practitioners going through? How are they working with it? How are you advising them?
Yeah, it's actually we have a guided meditation session, and then we met together again. They are also, most of them are outside of Myanmar. They are Burmese, but they are outside of Myanmar. So we can't do anything, but we feel something. But they also feel quite disappointed, and some of them already planning to go back and to Myanmar and to start the entrepreneurship or new business from Singapore. Great plan with great future, great hope, and now it's like all hope suddenly, your bubble and burst, and then they all disappointing. We talk a lot about it, and I do the guided meditation slowly. Okay, just accept, and then also give yourself time to go through. And you are not alone. We are all together. We are all together, and many people the same. And then this notion that I am not alone in this suffering, I think it's already helped them. And then it had been a difficult time for us. Yeah, many for my students and who are doing in meeting in this meditation group. And after that, I see in the second time we met twice a week. So in the second time, people change a little bit. There is more room to breathe, even physically. Could feel the energy is there. But in the second meeting, the second guided meditation, they feel a little bit easier to breathe, more hopeful, a little bit easier to find or to start to do metta. Yeah, but one very small amount, but it is happening. It is happening because it's so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah. So another question, being from Myanmar, you're not just Burmese, but you're obviously also dedicated to the Buddhist teachings, and you're a practitioner and a teacher. And at this point in the news media, we're seeing a lot of attempts by the mainstream news stations, by just people commenting on their own Twitter and Facebook feeds, that this is a time when people are really trying to understand your country, to figure things out, to be able to explain and make sense of what's happening. And I guess the question I have for you, being not only a Burmese, not only a Burmese who is outside of the country and is practicing Dhamma and has had experiences in other places and countries and in other cultures. When you're looking at how people are trying to understand your country and your people and your culture, what do you think is missing? What are they not quite getting?
I would say when I look back also to my country, it's the land. Yeah, many beautiful things and also many ugly things together. I don't know why in this day the picture coming in my mind every time I reflect or contemplate. And it's, let's say, the Myanmar like a family, and we have two sons, in Myanmar as a family metaphorically. And one son the elder son is a good son, and we got the younger son who is not, not so behaving. And then people love Dharma so much, and people focus on the good son so much, and okay, this is how things should be. I could see maybe it's a time we pay attention to the younger son who are not so behaving. If we really want to make this family, this country really peaceful and coming together as a family. Yeah, I also think what is missing in this process, we already have such a wonderful teaching, beautiful Dharma, and what kind of energy is processing. And there is a saying in Myanmar. I think you also speak, or I don't know, learn some Burmese saying in your book, in directory. Yeah, that maybe it said "manly bieli." Yeah, I don't know you heard about it or not, but the meaning is like, for example, when in the village many years ago, there is not medicine are not so advanced, and then they have the village medicine man as a doctor or as a healer. And when somebody is shouting, screaming, and they think, okay, he or she is being possessed, something like that. And then they
Mm.
bring him or her to the medicine man, and then he has the book about mantra, or okay, if somebody have the symptom, which mantra you have to recite, to make the spirit go away or whatever, according to the belief system. And the medicine man, he chant the mantra. And then the saying goes, the more he chant, the worse the patient.
Hmm.
So I could see the situation of Myanmar is why is happening again and again. Yeah, it's getting worse and worse in this second son situation.
Mm.
And that it is not the time anymore that you have to chant the same mantra again and again. Maybe I can see that maybe there's a time we need another method. And then I cannot also see another method rather than Metta.
So you think that the method we need now is metta?
Yeah, or if it doesn't work,
Right. So that kind of leads to my next question, and this is this question of like engaged Buddhism. Are you familiar with that term?
yes,
Yeah. So in the West, there's been a lot of discussion about social action and engaged Buddhism, how you could take the teachings of Buddhism out into the world in different ways. And that question of kind of using meditation principles or Buddhist doctrine in social causes in the West is something that's been discussed and talked about for quite some time. But we're now seeing a protest movement arise in Myanmar. Of course, not all of these protesters are Bamar. They're from other ethnic backgrounds. Not all of them are Buddhists. They're from many different religions as well. So we don't want to blanketly describe all of them as coming from a background in Buddhism or even engaged Buddhism. But the question I have for you that I'm wondering about is, in seeing how the protest movement has taken shape, have you seen examples of Buddhist principles or doctrines or things learned on the meditation cushion? Have you seen them being applied to social activities or protest?
yeah, some are happening. I would say is quite positive. I don't know it's coming from which source, and I also, yeah, now being in overseas away from my homeland, and I have a chance only the access to seeing from my friend. They are posting some videos, and I am quite positive about it. People applying in their speech, for example, at the moment, it's very important to have the right speech, which is in this case, I would say metaphor speech. Yeah? if somebody is pointing you with a gun, and then you coming across, you confrontation is the energy is so intense.
Mm.
On the other side with the gun, yeah, this fire energy, and then on the other side who want democracy or whatever, I don't know, they are. But if they are shouting, swearing, I mean, it doesn't work. But now some people coming up from the group who are leading the group with the loudspeaker and
Hmm.
speaking some very reasonable, very appropriate speech that both sides can hear. The police can hear, the demonstrator can hear it, and it's somehow bringing peace immediately into the intense situation. And I could see even
Can I ask you, because many of our listeners don't speak Burmese, so there's not subtitles on these videos. Can you give some example or some details of what this kind of right speech is that's being said over the loudspeakers that's having this positive effect?
this is a good point. I have to remember or I have
Hmm.
to recheck what is it in the what I remember is basically they are including the police to them, but doing it in a very reasonable way, objective way, like just asking, yeah, who do you work for? You work for the people, and people are for you have to protect the people, yeah, something like that. And but
Mm.
a little bit more. I don't remember all, but I always recheck and say it. And but what touched me is some people they bring the water. Water is for me is a sign of Metta. The sign
Hmm.
water is very important. So for me, is not talking from the side of Buddhist or even whatever. It's just public love. You know, this collective, the human closeness. Even though somebody is pointing you with a gun, and then another person is stay feel close to that person and to walk towards the police and then bring in the water and the rose, which is very, very important to show the sign before you can speak anything, you can say, you
Hmm.
cannot convey anything else, but people can see something, there's a token or what you call a sign, yeah, this water. And then I think it's touch because whoever else bring in the gun or whatever weapon, they are only made up of the flesh and blood, and they also have a heart that feel. And then this soften the energy. Not only I don't think to the police, but the overall energy become less intense, and there's more room for communication or whatever.
Right. That's really beautiful what you said. I'm thinking a couple of things about it. One is that I just want to put in some context for those that have not been to Myanmar the significance of water. Myanmar is a very hot and humid country, and shade and trees and fans and water play an outsized role in comfort, health, even safety, given how you have to protect yourself from the intensity of the heat. And all over Myanmar, there's this practice of putting water in clay pots for any passerby to pick up. This is done on street corners, it's done in front of homes and businesses and government offices. Monasteries, of course, this purified water is just always placed in these pots, and there's a collective cup that is open for one and all to come and just get a cup of water on a very hot day, which can,
Hmm.
maybe it's too dramatic to say it means the difference between life and death, but it certainly is plays a greater role than water in a Western country where
Hmm.
the conditions are a bit more um, less intense, you can say.
Yeah.
So bringing water is not imagining these police officers in their full uniforms on a hot day and their own passions and worries and fears, and then they have a cool cup of water brought to them that's having a calming effect. And I have heard Burmese Sayadaws frequently refer to the metta practice as being like a taste of cool water. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there is this analogy already built in, which is connected to the hot climate and the role that
Mm-hmm.
water plays there. But that's the first thought I have. The second thought I have as I hear you say this is you're talking about metta in action. This is really powerful. So sometimes in the West, when you just speak about sending good thoughts, there can be this kind of like, well, these guys have guns and money and power and everything else, and what are our good thoughts going to do? But what you're describing are people who have developed a practice and belief in the power of these good thoughts, and after having developed in this practice are capable of walking up to a police officer with all of the good feelings in the world. And that energy is something that you can't fake. It's something that you can't develop overnight. It's the fruits of a practice that has been going
Mm-hmm.
on for a long time. So that by truly developing this kind of metta mind, you're able to walk the walk and
Mm-hmm.
legitimately, authentically bring
Mm-hmm.
a sign of peace and an actual physical thing that will help that person in their condition on that hot day,
Mm-hmm.
and do it with a truly pure intention. And that's something that you can only do if you have been working in that practice and believe in that practice. It's not an action you can just say, now I'm going to do this because it's
Mm-hmm.
it's the political strategy of the moment of how we can kind of gain leverage or something. It's actually built of years of mental inner spiritual work that is
Mm.
manifesting at that moment.
This is also what I want to emphasize is they are on the demonstration. It means they are in anger. But in the middle of this anger,
Mm,
it's coming, the thought is even coming up, okay, I would do it anyway because they might be also hungry and thirsty and hot or whatever. But one you mentioned what come to my mind, Mettā water is very common phrase in Myanmar. We call
mm,
Mettā ye. Ye is just
mm,
water. Mettā water is in our daily usage and daily metaphorically or in our songs, music, like monastic music or even romantic music, even Metta and love is sometimes they even use interchangeably in the daily Burmese society. You don't have to be Buddhist, yeah, but Islam or Christian, because we brought up in this society in this language, is a lot of impact and influence of this Metta ye, or okay, let somebody be cool down and distinguish the thirst or the heat, this whatever this fire energy. But this could also happen in the demonstration. They are in a group. Okay, I bring my water, or I even bring more for Dāna to share my water. I can also do it with the people who share the same group, my people who love Aung San Suu Kyi or demonstrator. Yeah, but now they even share to the people who they are fighting. Basically, they go against with them. But
mm.
even okay, but this basic, I still share. It is something coming up. It's also I say is the time this situation challenge what you really have inside of you. You don't have to. I'm not talking from the practitioner's point of view. Yeah, they are just maybe they practice their life and in their society. They have a lot of this input already, but not they are like nuns or a monk. But even then, they are. It's something coming out from the non-practitioner people. Or maybe she might be practitioner, I don't know. But what I'm saying is now in this situation of in the middle of anger and something stay coming up and it's beautiful, I find it. It's bring
Mm.
a lot of light and you see the power of the small things, the power of small meta mind, which is coming up as an action with a token, which is what I know. So important, powerful.
This is really powerful. Yeah. So this is like love will triumph. This is the belief they're going in with it, that this is you could say it has some connections back to the civil rights movement in America, to Gandhi in India, this nonviolence of confronting the problems that are happening in a way that are not causing more pain and more problems and more harm. And I also see in the pictures I've seen, you reference Metta, I've seen an enormous amount of Dāna in action, just unspeakable. I've
Mhm.
never, I'm not an expert, I'm not a scholar, but in my casual reading and knowledge of protest movements around the world, I have never in my life seen the kind of Dāna and service that is going on this week. People that are
Mhm.
assigned to pick up trash, people that are handing out free meals, free water, free food,
Mhm.
rest stations that are set up so people can take a nap and have something to drink, people that are very young and very old that are coming out, but that are also being taken care of and supporting. And usually when you look at protest movements that involve millions of people, you have a fear
Mhm.
of a mob mentality and some kind of energy taking over and doing things
Mhm.
that people lose control. And here, I'm not there, and I don't know everything, but from pictures I've been seeing, what you describe with Metta, that because I'm not fluent in Burmese, I'm not getting all the nuances of how that's happening in action. And what I've seen from these pictures that are clearly showing Dāna and a sense of service and a sense of non-harm, these are really, really powerful emotional forces that are coming not to combat, but to offer another option of what's possible. And I really like the metaphor that you gave us before about the two sons. And so you have this unruly son that you don't want to kick out of the house, and you don't want to disown, and
Mhm.
you don't want to make his life more miserable. You know that he's doing things that are causing you and others problems, but you're looking for a way of integration, not of disintegration.
Mhm. Yeah, listening what you talk about Dana and in Myanmar, just giving the service as a what I experienced Dana as but here in the West is they do Dana with logical mind, logical thinking. I
Hmm.
think Dana in Myanmar is more like the way they are doing is from more like spiritual sense. In order to happen a dana, you have to be two party, yeah, who give and who receive. Only then dana can happen. And here is mainly what I experience is dana because it's like only one side. You share because you think you have more and other people have less. Therefore, you should share something. Yeah, with a little bit logical thinking, we
Hmm.
so the joy of giving is not so open for the poor people.
In the West, you're talking about.
Yeah, so the joy of giving only for the rich or something. I mean, it's not. Maybe this is overly generalized, but mainly is I feel is this way.
Right. So in the West, Dana is given somewhat according to means and maybe pity and um, according to some of these principles. And in Myanmar, Dana is a way of life that's integrated into
Mm-hmm.
ideally every moment and every interaction. And that's manifested most profoundly in monks' alms rounds that go into very poor villages. And some people are only able to give literally a spoonful of rice. I've been to other villages where the families were so poor, the children would wake up early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. They'd climb the
Mm-hmm.
trees to get the blossoms that had
Yeah.
come, the first blossoms that came. They would then pick the blossoms, string them together, and at 6 in the morning, they would offer them to the Buddha shrine.
Yeah.
There's no finances involved in this whatsoever. It's just an
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
And so it's not based so much in how much do I have and how much do they
Yeah.
need, this kind of logical calculus that you talk about, but it's based on the value of seeing Dāna manifested in every single opportunity that you could manifest this good quality.
Mm. Yeah, I could see the joy of Dana, the joy of giving is open even to the beggar who is begging on the roadside. He or she herself or himself have not might not have enough. Even then, if he or she want to share, there's a chance opening to they can share. Yeah, and it's just happening this way, so you don't have to. So logic doesn't, oh, okay, you don't have anything. Why are you giving your things to others? This is not a question. This logic doesn't work in
Right.
Dana way happening in Myanmar than here in Germany or in the West. As far as I experience, maybe it is overgeneralized. For example, I have a supporter, and her son became a Buddhist monk, and he is going arms around here in Europe. And then her mother is very supportive, everything, but she cannot accept that her son is asking for food in the market to the people who are poorer than her. And then she always say, "Okay, I have nothing to, your way, Buddhist, and be a monk, stay in a monastery, everything okay. But one thing I find difficult to accept is you are taking food from the people who are poor. How can you do this?"
Mm-hmm.
And this logic, this also makes sense to them in this way of thinking
Mm-hmm.
system. So I'm just saying which way Dana is happening where.
Right. And in these protest movements, I mean, this is a chance for these values that so many practitioners have been working on in their own internal practice for so long. This is the moment for them to manifest it for the benefit of the entire country.
Hmm. But one thing I hope is these people become more, and they don't go into the other energy like reacting with anger and revenge, and
Mm-hmm.
this sort of energy. I mean, we have seen it, enough of it, every demonstration, wherever
Mm-hmm.
in Myanmar, in Hong Kong, or anywhere else in the world. When demonstration, confrontation with the police, they shoot you, they beat you, or they throw with the glass, whatever. This kind of picture, this kind of example, the world, or we have enough of it. And now I'm just saying also to the group with my guided meditation, what we really need revolution is something to transcend. If we're doing the same, it's like more of the same things. What is the difference? And there is no end in it doing the same way. So we have to transcend a little bit, do and do more metta. If they are not like your second son, I say, stay not behaving, maybe more metta, more double your dose. Uh, but I find is Burmese people, they are doing relatively quite well. They are people who are bringing light even in this chaotic time.
Yeah, and that relates to my next question. We're talking right now about those people that are in Myanmar, those people that are on the front lines, so to speak, literally able to converse with policemen and give them water. Um, this podcast episode and others that have gone out are largely going to a foreign meditator community that are outside. We do have a number of listeners in Myanmar that I think these kinds of topics and reminders are very valuable to just to remember the energies that we want to cultivate and the darker energies that we don't want to. But for those that are outside of the country, there's a question that's coming. I'd actually like to quote one meditator who asked this question word for word that I think epitomizes what many are feeling. And the question is, what should the meditator community do to help Myanmar at this time? Being that a lot of the practice, a lot of the training that we have undergone should come to help at times like these. this is an opportunity to practice and contribute to those who need it most. So, this is the question that one foreign meditator has asked. And what you've described just a moment ago is more for people who are in the country. All of these meditators who are outside of the country and are not directly engaged in the issues, maybe they don't even speak Burmese. Maybe some of them have never even been to Myanmar. They just are grateful from learning a practice from a Burmese lineage. So,
Mm-hmm.
for those kinds of practitioners, many of them are feeling really hopeless and really helpless, wanting to do more and not knowing what they can do than just be angry, be sad, and practice and then try again. What words would you have for those kinds of practitioners outside of Myanmar? What is it that they can do at this time?
As a human, all we can do is three things. Yeah, one with body, the other is by speech, or the other is by thought, which is with the mind. Is I would say people outside of Myanmar, including myself, what I and just just watch, keep informed, and see the group of people who are demonstrating in the picture or in the video, whatever, and then take this side in your meditation and just meditate, or you sit on your chair, just close your eyes and just visualize this group of people who are demonstrating, or the group of people who are with the guns, and send the Metta, may they be free from danger. But sincerely, honestly, intention, the deep wish, deep, sincere wish. Even for 5 minutes, also okay. 10 minutes, also okay. And this is people from outside of Myanmar, what we can do. And if you have a friend, just encourage them. Say positive word, the metta word by speech. If you can do something by speech, speak something positive, hopeful, mettaful, something connected to metta. And also don't worry so much. Also very important. I feel so traumatized, but it's okay. Or let it happen and give yourself time, but don't so much worry about the people, because people of Myanmar, they are there. They have a chance this emotion to channel it out and let it out, just like by beating pots and pan. Yeah, maybe this is a good way. This is a natural healing. They don't need therapy because they do it, and the people from outside oversee we cannot do, and we can't. We all this energy, the feeling, the emotions store up. It's important not to, okay, don't worry so much. Okay, they have their own way of doing, and I do what I could. I don't do what I cannot do, which is okay, totally fine. And then your metta, standing in meditation, these people are in your prayer. If they know it, when you also communicate this message to them, and that it will help them a lot.
Right. Thank you for that. So, one thing I notice is there's kind of these two extremes, and we're trying to find this balance path. One extreme is what I just mentioned, an extreme of being so drowned by emotion, of anger, of sorrow, of fear, that one has a difficult time in practicing because of the power of these emotions. An extreme on the other side is this tendency to say, well, this is their karma. There's nothing I can do about it. I just do my practice and send metta, and the way that things will unfold, it's the way that it has to according to karma, and I just have to understand these principles and move on. It's even taken forms that I've seen on social media of people saying that this is a worldly issue and it literally doesn't matter, that Buddhism is going to survive whether it's this leader or that leader. If even if Myanmar breaks down completely, the teachings have been exported enough that people overseas can carry them on. So really the most important thing we just need to do is keep practicing and accept the ways of the world. This is a tendency that I would call spiritual
Mm-hmm.
bypassing. Spiritual bypassing refers to using spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep or avoid
Mhm.
facing unresolved emotional issues or psychological wounds, or in this case, social injustices. It's a way to say, I just need to practice and let the world take care of itself. And so there's an extremity of being so overwhelmed by emotion in the world that you can't practice. And then there's the extreme of being so cold and out of touch with the world that your practice becomes a way to really avoid feeling or thinking or caring about what's actually happening. So we just talked a moment ago about the other extreme, looking at the extreme of people that practitioners who might say, well, I just need to sit on the cushion and practice, and these things will just be worked out as they can. This is not really anything to do with me. What would you say to that kind of attitude?
Yeah, but sometimes when we look at the situation, is in between of Dhamma and Adhamma. You know? Sometimes if you keep silence, it is somehow the same that you agree with Adhamma in particular situation, for example, in this kind of situation. But this what you mentioned, spiritual bypassing, if I don't know what in which sense they are doing. Also, I also thought is not only with the Buddhist, but also can be in the normal public people, yeah, non-practitioner, or even some people they are not interested in politics, and they can be stay okay, let it be whatever, and I have to do what I have to do, and yeah, maybe this kind of mindset can happen to anybody, not only in Buddhist practitioner. I thought this could come from anybody, this kind of mindset.
Right. So, how to navigate that middle path, how to engage wisely with the social issues in the world without ignoring them and also without being overwhelmed by
Yeah,
them.
also if we meditate in the first place, the intention, what is the intention? And that the intention is for the happiness of myself. Therefore, I can, if you are happy, this is what you carry, what you bring, wherever you go, this happiness, this lightness. If this is your intention of your meditation, and then it should be what you do, it should be also for other people, you and other people and you. There should not be division or separation. But if your intention of meditation in the first place is, I don't know, a little bit only for self-interest, and then maybe, but what the Buddha, if you are meditating, having the Buddha as a teacher, and we always look up to our teacher, what he did. For him is always happiness of the world or the people, and also of course including oneself. And then do whatever we can to contribute positive something by your speech or even by your thoughts and by your actions. Whatever we can do, we do.
So, we've spoken a little about the Burmese who are engaged in protest, about the Burmese that are overseas that you're helping, also about the foreign practitioner community that is overseas and wanting to support. Another big sector that we haven't talked about is the Burmese monastics that are in Myanmar, the monks and nuns, novices, teachers, sayadaws, scholars. What do you feel is the role that Burmese monastics should be playing right now?
Oh, I see it's a huge role because it is almost like Buddhist country, yeah, all such a beautiful teachings are coming from. And I would say even we take back our example, Myanmar as a family with two sons. It's almost I would say they are the elder sons. Yeah, the elder sons. They also
Mm,
this is my younger son who is not behaving. And the Myanmar as a society as a general. These are people who love Dhamma a lot. It means who love Kusala. something good. Yeah, they are also Buddha teaching very. And then it's also we have to aware that loving Dharma too much should not be hating Adama too much. Yeah, there's this we have to be aware. And then okay, I love Dharma so much, but I also accept there is a human possibility that animal instinct. Yeah, we all have. I myself, even though I am a good son. And then I also have to take care of my little brother. It's a huge role that in a family. I also hope a lot of hope now in the Metta practice to develop those. My hope is from these people, the elder son, who think themselves they are a good person, they are practitioner, they love Dharma, and please now is not the time. Okay, I am a good son, and you are a bad son, so you stay on the other corner. I stay in this corner. It's not the time anymore. If you are a really good son, please go out, reach out, and bring your little brother back. If you are a really the light, I am the corner. I stay my light on this corner. You are the darkness, so you stay another corner, and it doesn't work anymore. And of course, we can have all the like-minded people who with you. But you can search more people with mental agreement. Yeah, people coming from outside practicing in Myanmar who love Dharma, who love them. These are also important to collect the light more and more. But now the situation what we are happening is in Myanmar is like I said, mainly barely. The more you chant, the worse your patient has become. So it's also good on one hand, you collect more light, more people who agree with the same idea with you. Also is a time to reach out the dark and convert the dark into the light slowly. And this everybody, every single person. You don't have to be Buddhist practitioner. Even now in the demonstration, people with talent, innate talent are coming out who are grasping the loudspeaker and speaking something which is that's natural. This is natural, not Dhamma talk, natural wisdom. I'm not sure they are even Buddhist or not, but I have a huge respect for them. We need this more. People already have it. Now is this force will coming out more and more, and we pray, we make more metta, join into this force, and then we one day we can dispel the darkness, not dispel, like we change the darkness into the light,
Hmm.
include them and bring them back home like this, and so that we have a proper
Mm.
family, good family as a whole, as a nation.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Um, and I want to come back just to the monastic institution more specifically, because on one hand, due to being monks, having renounced the world and following the 227 Vinaya rules, these monks are not necessarily expected to be involved in worldly and societal issues. They've stepped away from society for a higher calling. And yet, the Buddha also established a very reciprocal relationship between lay and
Hmm.
monastic society, with one offering sustenance and the other offering spiritual and ethical advice and guidance. It's this ingenious system where one can never get too far away from another. Even in Myanmar, a monk can't just decide he's going to be fed up with lay society and go so deep into the forest that there's no lay supporters
Hmm.
to feed him and take care of him, because by Vinaya, he's not allowed to, by monastic rules, the monk is not allowed to procure his own food. He depends on those lays for food, and by depending on them for food, he or she is in proximity to be able to perpetuate those teachings. And so the monkhood is in this situation where they're not able to, and it's not appropriate to be involved directly in worldly society on some hand. But on another hand, they do have a moral, ethical, and spiritual
Mm.
responsibility and role to play in doing something. Where where the worldly leadership ends and the moral and spiritual guidance begins, this is not so clear. These are not exact lines. So do you have any sense? And we've already seen some monasteries choosing to engage in some ways, some monasteries choosing not to engage in other ways. Of course, there's practice monasteries, there's study monasteries, there's many different kinds. But what role would you like to see of monastics, of monks and nuns playing at this time as things are shaping out?
Yeah, I would basically go back to Mettā way, Mijima Padivada, just using Vinaya to build the world and to create more distance between you and the laity is also is another extreme, and to engage totally in politics and worldly, neglecting your primary duties is also another extreme. But there are, I think, still many common platform in the as a middle way that we can still do is quite a lot for actually actually there's quite a lot that the Dharma or Dharma teacher can do or can impact the society in a positive way. Even in this time, for example, the monk has a rule that we cannot create riot, or definitely for sure. But it's okay just to express your wish, attitude, your okay, I am on the Dharma side. This is okay to express that. I go. This is my view, and to express your view is okay. Okay, my view is according to the Dharma for the welfare of many people. I think this is very is allowed to do for the monk.
Right. So you would like to see more monastics expressing their honest view in accordance with the Dhamma
Mm.
pertaining to the current situation.
Because if you keep silence, it's like sometime in monastery, if you keep silent, it's just saying yes, yeah. So it's also is not good to say yes, even though you don't mean it, but it's happened to be in the situation. It's not okay, and I think this is not what the Buddha would love to, but to bring people together in peace. But actually, it should be. I don't know what something is missing when I will go back the love of the Dharma and something wholesome, something good. And we show it too much and we happen to neglect the other son energetically, maybe, and reject, neglect, ignore, and being too much paying attention, caring, praising to the elder son, or this kind of energy, this side of energy, and then another side of energy is going totally wrong. But I think now we could find more metta, more understanding, more reaching out, more reaching out. Just make friends or something like that, more opening up, and then let them feel safe, feel included, and slowly, yeah. There is a lot that monastic can do, what the elder son can do.
Right. So, in other words, there's a time to engage in noble silence and there's a time to engage in right speech. And we need to have the wisdom to not just follow some kind of platitude of what one thinks it means to be a monk or to be
Mm-hmm.
a practitioner, but to be skillful enough to know how to engage at
Yeah,
different
yeah,
times in different
yeah.
ways.
They are also doing it already a lot. But what my meaning is, in this saying, the more you chant the mantra, they have chant a lot of mantra, a lot of Dhamma talk, a lot of Dhamma teaching at one hand already. It's a lot, enough, more than enough. and even reaching out to the world from country of Myanmar to the first world country. And this is a lot of them are already there. But the situation, what is happening is Mali Bieli, not the same. It's the more you chant the words, and then maybe all we have to do is, or maybe we are missing it just very short. It's just close, but we are missing it short. And 1 is 10. It can be easy because the mind is already there. Even the young son, the younger son is behaved, but they also brought up in this Dhamma society. If maybe I hope my prayer is we find a way that a method that to convert these all into darkness into the light. I think it's already there. All we need or what we are missing is only one. And what is it? And I find this is more metta, more reaching out from, not only very like what you found, what you have to chant, what you find in the book, which is true, which is the right speech according to the book. Also, this also is the Dhamma. You chant. But also just have a look what is happening, what is the impact. Not only all the time with like book wise you call this also a little bit with heart and reaching out, engage a little bit more. And I think by practicing believing in metta and in your willingness, your truthfulness that you really want your younger son to come in, to come back. Now the truthfulness is really strong and they will come back and you will find a way. But not only performing according to what you read in the book. This we all have enough, and this have been benefiting very, very positively to the elder son and all the other people. But now a little bit more caring, listening, paying attention what is going on with the other son. If we really want.
Right. So one has to be dynamic, critical, flexible, not just follow a prescribed set of rules or
Mm-hmm.
platitudes, but to actually take those hard steps of checking in with one's own emotion and practice and
Mm-hmm.
looking at how the world is laid out and choosing a wise course of action, all while making sure that's in the framework of the Dhamma, and if you're a monastic, in the framework of the Vinaya,
Mm-hmm.
so that you are in these bounds. But just because you're in these bounds doesn't mean that you have to be rote, doesn't mean that you just have to do what's always been done or what you've learned or the traditional ways. You can, within these boundaries, you can be dynamic and flexible and creative and
Mm-hmm.
playful and engaged and critical and trying new things. So it's bringing together this ancient wisdom to this very modern set of problems and the modern tools that we have to deal with the
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Yeah, if our focus, our wish is truly the well-being of all the people, well-being, for the goodness of becoming a good family again, all together to include all. This really is our focus.
Right. And this is a very unusual time because I've never personally never really felt a time like this where it just feels like so many of us are in this collective trauma together, that we're living and breathing this. I can't tell you how many friends I'm talking to, foreigners and Burmese, lay and monastic, even Buddhist and non-Buddhist, that have some connection to Myanmar. Either they are Bamar, or they are another ethnic group, or they've been in Myanmar a long time. They're there now. They've benefited from the practice. They have some heart connection to the country, and everyone is collectively undergoing this pain and trauma in real time. And there's this tremendous cry and plea for freedom, to not have the freedom taken away from it, and to find ways to preserve this freedom, but to do it as you've been talking about, through metta, through dana, through goodwill, through manifesting this inner spiritual practice that's been building for years, and to live at this moment in these feelings and emotions that so many of us are feeling simultaneously. It's something I've never experienced before.
One other weakness, or like sort of weakness I could see, would be like this exclusion. But we are not doing it purposely. But even in the practicing of Dharma, okay, and it's not like judging, yeah, but this is how things are, just to objectively to see how things are. Even practicing the Dharma, okay, this method or that method, and I mean, it's this way is nothing wrong, but in doing so, we are unconsciously or unknowingly, there is an energy of exclusion to each other, yeah. But dharma or the practitioner, the whatever lineage, this should not be mutually exclusive. This is, so the energy happen to be this exclusion from here, a little bit here and there, a little bit here and there, and in doing so, at the same time, we include more people, and simultaneously we happen to exclude other people. And it's like Myanmar is very divisive, or how you call it, very a little bit separated group here and there. And then I also find it is not so good. And now with Mettā is is calling, to be more inclusive, more unconditional. Unconditional. This is what I want to say. And
Mm,
and then
right.
and then whoever is even start from your people who are like-minded, yeah, not the younger son side, but start with the elder son is your cycle. Start with inclusion, and then slowly the more inclusion come with more metta. And yeah, this is the spiritual homework we left and done. Yeah, we start with inclusion, and whoever you see slowly, and then narrow the cup of this exclusion. It's becoming almost as a habit, or is how to say, it's just happening, unconsciously happening, whatever it is there. And now I think it's the time to, yeah, even foreigner come, or even Myanmar, there is a group, okay, you can, this, uh, start with the teacher, and then include everybody, reach out, and then be an example when everybody see it. Like for example, here I, as a foreigner, and I have some, um, this is only two people, but it's an example of inclusive. I am being included. I'm welcome here. You have a place here with me. Here, even if I live in a small little house, even if we have only two people, one German, one Myanmar, wherever we go, the energy between these two people, they look friendly to them. It is a message
Mm,
is happening, yeah. But in the practicing of Dharma, I know we say, okay, noble silence, or I have this rule, I have that rules. Rules.
hmm.
It's good to create harmony between the community, but also we should not neglect that in doing so, we happen to build the distance with another, and something is being excluded mutually or some. And yeah, I find it's not so good. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, no, that's, I think, coming back to this analogy of the family and the different members, I think that's extremely powerful. I think that your message of Dāna and of Metta, especially of Metta, I think is really driven home by thinking about this as a somewhat broken family that one wants to bring back together into harmony. I think that's very, very beautiful. And I'd also like to ask you to close out in this past week in your practice and your guidance to others. What have you been drawing upon for inspiration and support in terms of the suttas or the Dhammapada or discourses from a certain Sayadaw meditation insights, meditation guidance or instructions? What has been of most support and inspiration? What has been most relevant to you in trying to deal with these times?
Okay, what come to my mind also seeing, of course, we also cannot uh, leave out this police beating people. Yeah, this also is really happening. This side also is somehow reality. And then seeing this, what come to my mind is some Pali teaching. I don't remember the sutta name anymore, but the Buddha once said, if somebody beating you, and then you should not react, or um, or instead of beating this person back, I can reflect. You can reflect. Okay, he only beat me. He has not cut my limbs yet. And then when he start to cut your limbs part by part, and then the Buddha said, and then reflect. Okay, he only cut my limbs up. He hasn't take my life yet. Something like that. So see something positive. Yeah, he has what he has not done to you yet. And then I find this is very powerful. And then I cannot get so much angry seeing these police. Okay, he just taking people coming at night at the house of the people, taking them. Yeah, even like I love Aung San Suu Kyi so much. We met in person. Now she is in arrest, and we don't know where she is. Where, of course, I feel traumatized. And then later on, slowly after 2 3 days, I also this teaching, remembering of this teaching coming. Okay, they are not doing me this yet. They are not doing her yet. Yeah, something. I'm sure San Suu Kyi also have inspired from something like that. She has gone through all the things. And one thing also is not from the teaching of the Buddha, but from Aung San Suu Kyi herself. What she said is, "Chama mo yin, chama shou ma bo." It means if I hate, I lose. Of course, she said. And the kilesa is the weapon of failure, sure fire, and the Mettā is the weapon of success. This is also she said, very true. But what keep me in this day is this reflecting. Okay, they only come and take people at night, but they haven't killed them yet, or something. But because it's said by the Buddha, and I thought, okay, my teacher when he said it, maybe it might be something, and maybe this faith also is helping me. But it helped me right away. I find my anger or my worries and disappointment, they are not so much anymore.
I appreciate that. I know that I definitely feel a little bit better after talking to you now. I hope that when this airs that listeners will as well. The outside reality remains as it is, but you've really done a powerful thing to remind us about the power of the internal reality, not just as an internal manifestation, but the cultivation of a set of internal conditions and tools that can then be used to manifest outside. And that's a very powerful reminder. And even as the situation continues to be very worrisome, to remember what we can control in our own actions and our own spiritual practice, I think is a sign for some degree of hope.
Mm-hmm. I also have a glimpse, a little bit deeper glimpse, to see why the Buddha teach us to include the enemy in the Metta. Now is the time to realize a little bit deeper, oh, okay. Otherwise, the problem never gets solved unless we standing on however much you are right. I am the light, and therefore I stand on the corner of my light, and they are the darkness, and you push them away, the darkness. The fight, the conflict will keep on going eternally, never end. There is no end. Now I understand, okay, and have a glimpse the wisdom of the Buddha. Why he that's before I understand, I know it's an enemy, you hate the person you hate, you are bitter. But now it's okay, it's the long term solution. Unless you have done what you have should be done, spiritual homework, the problem never gets solved. And now, however right you are the light until you include you convert the darkness, include your enemy in your metta. Only that's why I cannot see any other solution than this long-term solution. It will take effort, real spiritual effort, mental effort, but the fruit is it seems so sweet.
Those are very powerful words, Sayalay, and I think those are words that we should close with. So thank you so much for joining us, and best wishes to you, best wishes to the people around you, and to continue doing the good work you're doing.
Thank you for having me, and wishing you a good day.
One of the beautiful things about Burmese monasteries is that everyone can practice selfless giving. I've seen poor families give just one spoonful of rice to a communal alms bowl, and I've seen still poorer families wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to collect flowers and offer at the Buddha shrine. As our Insight Myanmar podcast runs on the power of donation, we also greatly appreciate any amount of support to keep our engine going. Like the morning alms of rice or flowers, if you'd like to give a monthly donation through Patreon, that continued support will allow us to continue making these episodes available to you. If even a small fraction of our listeners donated the equivalent of a cup of coffee as a monthly pledge, we could be funded well into the future. If your income is less stable, we greatly appreciate one-time donations as well. If you would like to join in our mission to share the Dhamma from the Golden Land more widely, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Every cent goes immediately and directly to sustaining the programming. You can give right on our website via credit card by going to insightmyanmar.org/donation, or through PayPal by going to paypal.me/insightmyanmar. We also take donation through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. In all cases, simply search Insight Myanmar on each platform and you'll find our account. Alternatively, you can also visit our website for specific links to any of these respective accounts, or feel free to email us at info@insightmyanmar.org. In all cases, that's Insight Myanmar, one word, spelled INSIGHTMYANMAR. If you would like to give in another way, please contact us. Thank you for your kind consideration. You have been listening to the Insight Myanmar podcast. We would appreciate it very much if you would be willing to rate, review, and/or share this podcast. Every little bit of feedback helps. If you are interested, you can subscribe to the Insight Myanmar podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, please check out our website for a list of our complete episodes, including additional text, videos, and other information at www.insightmyanmar.org. That's Insight Myanmar, one word, INSIGHTMYANMAR. If you cannot find our feed on your podcast player, please let us know and we will ensure that it can be offered there. There was certainly a lot to talk about in this episode, and we'd like to encourage listeners to keep the discussion going. Make a post, request specific questions, and join in our discussions on the Insight Myanmar podcast Facebook group. You are also most welcome to follow our Facebook and Instagram accounts by the same name of Insight Myanmar. And if you're not on Facebook, you can also message us directly at burmadhamma@gmail.com. That's burmadhamma@gmail.com, and we're also active on Dhamma Wheel. If you'd like to start up a discussion group on another platform, let us know and we can share that forum here. Finally, we're open to suggestions about guests or topics for future episodes, so if you have someone or something in mind, please do be in touch. We would also like to take this time to thank everyone who made this podcast possible, especially our two sound engineers, Martin Combs and Tharng A. There's of course Zach Hessler, content collaborator and part-time co-host. Ken Pransky helps with editing. Dragos Bandita and Andre Francois produce original artwork, and a special Mongolian volunteer who is asked to remain anonymous does our social media templates. We'd also like to thank everyone who assisted us in arranging for the guests we have interviewed so far. And of course, we send a big thank you to the guests themselves for agreeing to come and share such powerful personal stories. Finally, we are immensely grateful for the donors who made this entire thing possible. We also remind our listeners that the opinions expressed by our guests are their own and not necessarily reflective of the host or other podcast contributors. Please also note, as we are mainly a volunteer team, we do not have the capacity to fact-check our guest interviews. By virtue of being invited on our show, there is a trust that they will be truthful and not misrepresent themselves or others. If you have any concerns about the statements made on this or other shows, please contact us. This recording is the exclusive right of Insight Myanmar podcast and may not be used without the expressed written permission of the podcast owner, which includes video, audio, written transcripts, and excerpts of any episodes. It is also not meant to be used for commercial purposes. On the other hand, we are very open to collaboration, so if you have a particular idea in mind for sharing any of our podcasts or podcast-related information, please feel free to contact us with your proposal. As you know, our podcasts are 100% listener-supported. We welcome your contribution in any amount, denomination, and transfer method. You may give via Patreon at patreon.com/insightmyanmar, via PayPal at paypal.me/insightmyanmar, or by credit card by going to insightmyanmar.org/donation. In all cases, that's Insight Myanmar, one word, INSIGHTMYANMAR. If you'd like to give especially to support our new run of coronavirus episodes, please go on the GoFundMe site and search Insight Myanmar to find our campaign. If you are in Myanmar and would like to give a cash donation, please feel free to get in touch with us. Thanks, and see you next show.